afternoon, pilot teachers, and good afternoon, students. Thank you. Sit down. Okay, we will continue on with our work on looking at the case study of Indonesia. And today we are going to move on now to looking at the country of our case study. In our last lesson, if you can recall, we looked at the countries generally surrounding that area of our case study, and we also looked at listing some of those countries in the Monsoon Asia region or the Southeast Asian region. We looked at two of the big rivers, perhaps in China, and we also looked at two important lines of latitude. Today we'll go ahead now to looking at the country Indonesia. And before we can get ourselves into the case study and the other activities that are based on that particular country, we'll again do map work on recognizing this particular country, Indonesia. So you should have a copy of a blank map of Indonesia, of which from that copy, we are going to do some activities so that we are able to recognize some of the main islands in this particular region of our case study. Okay, and this map work we will use for mapping Indonesia in our lesson today. From the last activity that we did, we were able to actually name some of the countries around the Monsoon Asia region. We are now coming specifically to the area from our map here, which are in brown color. The area in brown shows us the country of our case study, and specifically we are going to look at the island, which is known as Java in that country. Okay, over to some activities now. You will need your atlases. And if you are using the atlas, Papua New Guinea Secondary School Atlas, that's the maroon cover. If you're using this, then information on page 68 and 69 will contain the map of Indonesia that you can actually use for the completion of the activity. If you're using any other map, then if you can make reference to, or if you're using other atlases, you can make reference to the information on Indonesia political, and using the atlas, it should be able to help you complete the following activities. Okay, we'll start off now. On the monitor, you can see a copy of a blank map of the country of our case study. Your task is going to be a couple of things. The first one, you are going to name the islands which are labeled with the letters A to J. So if you look at the blank map that you have been given, you will see that there are letters from A to J, and they are supposed to show some of the main islands in Indonesia. And your task, number one, is to name the islands. Activity number two, the following seas, which are numbered 1 to 5. On your map, you will not find those numbers. Rather, use your atlas to come up with the names of those seas and plot them accurately where they come in on that map of Indonesia. And the seas are Diarafura Sea, Java Sea, Banda Sea, Timor Sea, and Molucca Sea. So those are the 5 seas that I would like you to accurately plot them on that blank map of Indonesia. That's activity number 2. Activity number 3, there are also straits which are found in the country, and the 3 main ones are the Sunda Strait, Makassar Strait, and Malacca Strait. Those would be the 3 activities that I'd like you to start on. I'll give you some time for the completion of those 3 activities, then we'll go through the correction, and we'll also look at more activities that I'd like you to work on mapping Indonesia. Each one of you should have a copy of the blank map and also an atlas to help you complete those 3 activities. If you can start on those activities now. Yes. It's the same. Yes, maybe the spelling a bit different, but it's the same island. Let me see. Okay. I is Bali. And J. Okay. I wanted it to be Lombok, but if it is on those are the Flores Islands. This is the Sumba Island. Then that's the Palau, Sumbawa. Will have to be here. Because Lombok is. Okay, I want the J to represent this island here. So yeah, whichever you put the arrow to, you name accurately, because according to your map, you should be able to work out if you put the arrow. So if you put it here, it's okay. To there. But I wanted it to actually be pointing next to Bali. Yeah? Okay, if you're working on naming the islands and you come to the letter J, you will find that the letter J is placed next to more than 2 or 3 islands. So it will have to be the island next to the letter I. So you start off with B, name the island B, and then the next island to B is I, and then straight after the island I is supposed to be the letter J. So if you can put an arrow to point to that island next to I. Okay. Yeah, because I think some of the information might be outdated. There's some changes in the names given. Like say, for example, Burma, the country Burma, when we were doing last lesson, there's no longer the country Burma. It still exists, but it's now known as Myanmar. So it's no longer Burma, but once upon a time it was known as Burma. Yeah. So here it is, Myanmar, which was known as Burma before. A lot of people know it as Burma. Well, it's up to the country then. Maybe they decided to change it to a name which is more commonly used, or rather than just maybe Burma might be only for a smaller area, whereas Myanmar might represent a larger area. So it really depends on the different countries. Yeah. The spelling, it's Java. Some maps they have Java, so it depends on who writes the map and who actually puts down the names of those islands. It's making reference to this one. So. corrections of the 3 activities. Who was it that asked a question on the strait? You asked a question on the strait. Did you ask a question on the strait? Where did you say? Okay, we'll double check on the correction. Here it's the Malacca Strait. Yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, you're correct. Okay, we'll go around the class for the correction of those activities. We'll start off with the islands first. So we'll start on this side. We'll go around that way and then finish off here. Okay, the first of the activities you had on the map of Indonesia, you have the letters A to J, and your task was to correctly name those islands in Indonesia. LC, Island A.
Island A is the island of Sumatra.
Okay, the rest of us we check. Are we happy with Sumatra? Sumatra? Yes. Okay, we double check. Correct. Okay, let's look at Island B. Doreen?
Island B is the island of Java.
Java, we're happy with the island of Java? Okay, good. Some of you are wondering about the spelling in the atlas. Spelled J-A-W-A. It's referring to the same island, yes, Java. Okay, we pronounce it and we spell it with a V-A. Some maps, they might have J-A-W-A. They're making reference to the same island. So B is Java. Let's look at Island C. Brendan?
Island C is Kalimantan.
Okay, Kalimantan. For Island C, we're happy with Kalimantan? Hey, wait. Island C, Kalimantan? Hands up those people who had Kalimantan as the answer. Hands right up. Okay, the rest of you. Kathy, what did you have for Island C?
Borneo.
Borneo, and the rest of you, did you also have Borneo, for those who did not put their hand up for Kalimantan? Okay, the difference between Kalimantan and Borneo. If we look at Kalimantan, it is the section only which is part of Indonesia. But that whole island of which it also includes the country Brunei Darussalam and Malaysia, that whole island is the island of Borneo. Okay, so we double check. If you look again, this whole island here, that includes the country, a bit of Malaysia, and it also includes this country here called Brunei Darussalam. That whole island is referred to as Borneo. But if you are asked to only name the section or the part which is Indonesia, then it will be Kalimantan. Okay, and we were asked to name the island, so we are going to name that island as Borneo. Okay, so make correction then to the Island C. We all understand my explanation? Okay, good. We move on. Let's look at D. Francis?
Island D is Sulawesi.
Okay, we all happy with Sulawesi? Okay, and he's also correct. We go down the row, down. Island E.
Irian Jaya.
Okay, again, we are going to, if I already explained for Borneo, the island Borneo, and if I am going to say that island E is Irian Jaya, then I might be contradicting what I have stated earlier on. So island E then is going to be New Guinea. And New Guinea, mainly the western part of it is referred to as Irian Jaya. Okay, so that I do not contradict what I stated earlier on, we are going to make the correction that island E, this whole island here is New Guinea, but the western part of it is Irian Jaya. So let's check that correction and we ensure we are writing down the correct information so we do not contradict, or I do not contradict what I mentioned earlier on that island, Borneo. Okay, so E should be New Guinea. And if we have to specifically identify that section which belongs to Indonesia, then it will have to be Irian Jaya. Okay, let's move on. The island F. Frank?
The island of Timor.
Okay, Timor is correct. Okay, we are not saying East or West Timor because that whole island is actually the island of Timor, and then it's divided to the eastern side and the western side, as known as East Timor and West Timor, but the whole island, F, is Timor. The island G.
The island of Flores.
Island?
The island of Flores.
Okay, the Flores Islands, let's check. And he's correct. The group of islands there, which is found just above Timor, are the Flores Islands. Okay, we move on now. H.
The island of Maluku.
I'm sorry, would you like to repeat that again?
Halmahera.
Okay, Halmahera is correct for island H. And that's the island here, just above West Papua or New Guinea Island. This island here, which is supposed to be H for Halmahera. Okay, the island I. This island here, just next to Java.
Island I is Bali.
Okay, the famous Bali for the island I. And finally, J. J, I wanted this island here next to Bali.
Lombok.
Lombok is correct. Okay, good. And that concludes the main islands that we are supposed to actually make a list of in Indonesia. You double check and you make corrections. The only correction that we are making too is E. E is supposed to be New Guinea. And if we had to specify the section that belongs to Indonesia, then it will be Irian Jaya. Okay, good. We move on. This time we are going to look at naming the seas. And for the area, sea area, what you will need to do is, for those students who are going to be asked to identify, you'll need to come up to the front and show us where the area of sea for Arafura, Banda, Java, Molucca, and Timor are located. Christopher, we start off with Arafura Sea. To the front and identify where that is actually located.
This is where the Arafura Sea is situated.
Okay. We double check just where Timor Islands are, between Timor, Australia, Lombok, PNG. We double check. Is correct? Definitely. Okay, good. Ovio, the Banda Sea. Or if you'd like to just give us a description, if you know the islands already, and if you'd like to give us the description, you may also do that. You have a choice of coming up to showing us where on the map, or you can give us a description of where the sea is located with reference to the islands.
The sea Banda is located just above the island of Timor.
Just above the island of Timor. Okay, so we are saying the island of Timor, we've already identified. It's this island here, just above that. We are expecting to see the Banda Sea or identify the Banda Sea. Let's double check. Oops. Okay, it's definitely correct to say that, yes, above Timor. Java has been already given, so the Java Sea then will come in just above the island Java and between the island Borneo, plus to the east of Sumatra. Okay, the next one, Rebecca, the Molucca Sea.
It's just to the northwest of Halmahera.
To the northwest of Halmahera. Okay, this is the island here. We said Halmahera. To the northwest would be somewhere around here or on this side. Okay, northwest to this section here. As long as it's not maybe over the political boundary there that separates the Philippines from Indonesia.
Yeah, between that and Sulawesi.
Okay, we check. The Molucca Sea, along this section there. Okay, you're definitely correct. And finally, the Banda Sea. Oh, we've done the Banda, sorry. The Timor Sea, yes. And for the Timor Sea, it will actually be just below where Timor is. Okay, and that's for the seas. And finally, the three straits that we are supposed to also identify. Marian, the Sunda Strait.
It's located between the island of Sumatra and Java.
Okay, between the island of Sumatra and Java.
Yeah.
We check. She's definitely correct, yes. The Sunda or the Sunda Strait is found between the island of Java and the island Sumatra. Okay, the next one, Kathy. The Makassar Strait.
The Makassar Strait is between the island Borneo and Sulawesi.
Okay, the island Borneo and Sulawesi. She's definitely correct to say that particular passage is the Makassar Strait between Borneo and Sulawesi. And finally, the Malacca Strait. Ebony.
The Malacca Strait is situated on the north coast of Sumatra.
Okay, north coast of Sumatra, between the island Sumatra and
Malaysia.
the country Malaysia, yes. Okay, so let's check. And that's definitely correct also, the Malacca Strait. That will conclude the activities that I wanted us to actually complete on mapping Indonesia, but that's not all. There's a lot more map work and map activities that we can actually do based on this particular country. And these are the following activities then that I'd like you to actually work on for your homework. If you can make note of them now, and for your homework, I'd like you to ensure you have areas where you're supposed to actually draw in the lines of latitude, 5 degrees north, the equator at 0 degrees and 10 degrees south. So there should be 3 lines of latitude drawn on your map of Indonesia. And the 3 lines should be the 5 degrees north, the equator, and 10 degrees south. B, if you look carefully on your map, the blank map, you would have identified that there are political boundaries that are also shown separating this country, Indonesia, from the surrounding countries. I'd like you to use one color only to shade the areas which are Indonesia. So if you look at your map here, there are political boundaries, and that's the reason why when we came to looking at Borneo, the island Borneo, some students only mentioned a section which belonged to Indonesia, which is Kalimantan. They were correct. The only difference is that we are trying to name the whole island, and if we have to name the whole island, that island is Borneo. So your task now is make sure you shade in those areas that are Indonesia. Any of those that are not Indonesia, you don't shade in. So you can use any color, but one color only, whether it be red, blue, green, yellow, etc. and shade in all those sections which are Indonesia. And finally, more activities to do for your homework on mapping Indonesia. C, you name the following areas: Malaya, Sabah, Sarawak, Brunei. Double check. We already have on our map there the countries Philippines, Singapore, Australia, and Papua New Guinea. Do we have Singapore already given on our map? Okay, for the ones that are there, you don't need to do them again, but for the countries or areas that are not on your map, I'd like you to include, especially Malaya, Sabah, Sarawak, Brunei, and Singapore. Papua New Guinea and Philippines, plus Australia is already on our map. So those would be the 3 activities for you to work on for your homework. Okay, and with that also, that will bring us to the end of our lesson. Class, if you can stand up now, please. To the pilot teachers, our keyword for lesson 140 is Java. Good afternoon and thank you, students.